Let's see where we're at. I don't know what the name of this street is, but that large dog came up, and I think it comes from this house. Oh. Yeah, and several times it's followed. In fact, it went down to follow the US Postal Service woman delivering mail. So it's coming from this house here, though, I believe. And I'll review the video, but it had come up and like did touch or almost touch my hand, and you know, I was ready. I had the film ready and had this ready, and then if I got it on film there, it looks like, you know, then you saw him bark and all that. Now, pretty big dog. He's out here another time like that, running around and, you know, from house to house to house, following the postal mail woman. She's parked there on the left side as I'm filming there, just up from Brunswick Street. So I'm seeing her continue to walk down Eastwood from house to house delivering mail. But she brought him back. He got in the truck with her, and she came down here to this road, and she brought him back to that street next to that house. Oh, about a week or two ago. So that dog is out here running around. Now he's got what appears to be like a GPS or electronic shock collar on it. And this is January, I believe this is January 10, 2024. There's a heavy snow here, and I'm on Eastwood Street in Marshall, Missouri, and it is it's about 9:23 a.m. when that took place. But as I said, that's the US Post Office worker's truck. She had went all the way down there. The dog got into that truck, and she parked on that side street next to that silver house, which is where the dog then got out. So you see how that works. I'm going to Let's see, I think the postal woman might be approaching her truck now. I see a shadow there, I'm not sure. Anyway. Yeah, but that was some kind of, I'm going to assume it was a shock collar on the dog. But you know, this city mayor in the Marshall Community Informed group, or someone posting in his name, wrote, if you see like what I just filmed, you know, film it, and then, you know, that way you can't have this he said, she said stuff, you know, where one person has their point of view, whether it's perceived correctly or not. Go ahead and film it or photograph it, etc., whatever. Contact law enforcement, and then it will be decided by the courts. Was any law broken in what I just filmed? And in a community where the Saline Animal League is openly in a dispute with the city over issues, actually several different issues as I understand it, but I'm not a lawyer, I don't give legal advice, so but I will say that with the Missouri Sunshine Act, this is a win that a lawyer that I initiated into a lawsuit against the state of Missouri, they won. And one thing that my family told me that was a point of that lawsuit was, of which Saline County Judge then Robert H. Ravenhill was deposed in Kansas City Federal District Court over, there's a US mail truck there, or at least it's what's posted on the side, yellow Jeep. I suppose he's probably a contractor, or maybe an actual, yeah, US Postal Service guy. So what the main point, one of the main points of that lawsuit that was won against the state of Missouri, which then Judge Robert H. Ravenhill was deposed in U.S. Federal District Court over, Jack Vanderpool, my father was a witness to this, was the violation of over the Missouri Sunshine Law, the Sunshine Act. And I was actually told the law was changed as a result or part of that lawsuit. Now, I haven't seen that. What I will do, as I've talked to my law firm through Legal Shield, as I will contact them, and as I contact them again in St. Louis, I will ask if how to get a copy of that Federal District Court case register. I talked to Arthur Benson and Associates' law firm. Now it's 2 in Kansas City, and I could not get it, but I was looking on CaseNet. In fact, I couldn't access that, so the lawyers told me that I may want to do it another way. Good morning. So this is where I have the understanding from the law firm that sometimes lawyers may get access to those cases where we may not get access to some of those cases. Because I'd already asked, like, where to look this up, because they had me so many times overseas in the country of Georgia, you know, on Zoom meetings or real life meetings, and government officials, non-governmental organizations, I don't know about CSOs, but just different groups, and they'd stand there in front of a certain flag, maybe multiple flags, and talk about human rights, better democracy, a better justice, developing, state building, nation building, this kind of thing, in essence. And they might have used, or may have, those exact words. And so then I go back to, by the way, that was Miss Keller that I just said a friendly hello to. She waved back. She's out walking her dog, and I think that's pretty amazing because not everybody is as active as they may want to be. And for those of us that continue to be active, whether it's at the Salt Fork YMCA or whether it's in a home gym like Danielle Jones down in Fulton, Missouri, or wherever she's at now, or just wherever it's at, that's so important right now because we're in a very dramatically changing world, especially since 2020. So these healthy practices, and when you walk daily for exercise, or wherever it's at, you're going to run into, encounters with dogs and things like this. Fortunately for us, this is about the only major thing I'll see here is some kind of issue like that. It's not like being in downtown Kansas City. And that's where I spent good morning. That's where I spent a number of years. Was out there in KC. So, and I was just out filming a line, a cable, AT&T cable. I'll post that. But by the way, Ms. Sorry, I want to get my pronunciation correct here. Ms. Keller, the retired school teacher here in Marshall, Missouri, seems to be doing really well, very happy, healthy, and walking her dog. So I'm happy to see that. And it's a little bit tricky walk for me. I didn't want to go in the snow because I've got steel-toed shoes. So I'm like, if I walk very long in steel-toed shoes, that means there's a covering of steel about 2 inches back from the toes, maybe 3. And I was showing them to a guy in the sauna at the Salt Fork YMCA yesterday because he asked. He liked them. And they're the brand, what is the brand? Ulog. ULOGU. And it's pierce resistant. So that you've got, if you're working with, let's say, a machete to clear some weeds, or maybe you need to, maybe there's a copperhead and he's bitten you, poisonous snake in the timber here, or maybe it's my dad had to, or someone had to kill one last year down at Warsaw, to defend their dog and their own lives, and from injury or fatality. So it could be maybe you drop something, maybe whatever. So it's pierce resistant, but it's also steel toe, which means that if I walk through that snow, which it's got better tread, way better tread, but they're heavier. And I was wearing and want to wear the lightest weight shoe that I can. And I do, but the lightest weight shoes that I have, which is actually some sort of, it's got fashion written on there, is very hard on my knees. So with that, here's a guy out here filming. He's got a tripod and a remote. He's set it up in the street. Oh, I feel a lot of memories right now, but I'm filming too, so they're not just memories. I'm still making vlogging, blogging, filming, and whatever. I think they're probably gonna film this guy come down the street. So I'll get him on film this time. He knows I'm filming, so I don't think it's going to offend him. I'm gonna have to cross the street for a second though. There's a lot of trucks are out with snow blades to remove the snow. But these shoes this guy was asking about in the sauna yesterday, And I told him the brand and showed him. But they got way better tread. So that's why, yeah, he's taking his tripod, he's going. But they've got way better tread. So that's why I put them on. But they're heavy. So, but I got them for if I go to cut firewood or do something on the farm, help Dad or anybody in my family, that this is what I would wear. So I've got these, and I've got the really, really lightweight ones that have no tread. They're not the same brand. There's nothing about them that are similar. These are very heavy. But if you walk in snow with these and you've got steel toe, it's gonna freeze up. It's gonna freeze your toe. Now I've got these gloves, which a lot of people that snow ski, they like them. I've charged up the batteries. They are electric. They keep your hands warm in weather like this, and which is far below freezing weather. And so that guy took his tripod and his whatever he was filming or taking pictures of, went back into the Missouri Valley College Blosser Hall. But here comes the truck with the snow blade. No, that's a tractor or something. We'll see what it is. So, the thing about this is that, yeah, in these different environments, you have different types of clothing. But if you're going to go deer hunting, which is where I learned a lot of things this year, is a good, let's say almost, yeah, setting up, learning how to be ready for the next season. And we're learning so much, me and my family, about the change in rules, the different options. And one of these is not only the gloves, but the socks that are electrically warmed, battery warmed socks. And there was a vest that my dad saw on some advertising as he was watching like Fox News or something. So he said, I tried to order you this electric warmer vest because he knows that I plan to get into the tent and deer hunt, but are also trying a couple of several different deer cameras. One is over there, another one's at another location. I've used one there, also at the house, and all this different type of stuff. So, but with electric socks, I could probably wear these. But generally I want the lightest pair of shoes possible when I'm walking. So, but today there's ice and snow, and it's wet from the melt, or the salt rather. There's salt here. Yep, there's a salt crystal, I think, or maybe not. Maybe that's ice. I don't know if there's salt here or not. I just made that assumption. I haven't seen it, and I say that that's ice versus salt. I don't know if they've covered this one with salt. In any case, it's wet in some places, it's ice in some places, and it's snow. So I need the traction. But the electric socks, if I was going to go out and deer hunt with weather like this, I'd want that. Probably the vest too. That's just a little bit about that. I'm going to go ahead and walk in the crunch for a second here. So about the abuses of power here in Saline County, we had a sheriff do US federal prison time over something like corruption of public funds. We had, and he's a great guy. I mean, I really liked Wally, and you know, he was a good guy. He told me not to help the, help the undercover division of the Missouri State Highway Patrol, because he probably cared about me. But some of you might laugh at that one and think that's a naive statement, but who knows? But but I did anyway. Thanks, Wally, for that that great advice. It was what it was, and that was right before I went to Ukraine. So I had met with Missouri State Highway Patrol undercover many times here for about a month and a half, 2 months, and I worked so effectively, so quickly, that by the end of it, they told me, over the phone, they said, you got to back off the mafia. And it was they loved it. They never seen anything like that. So you get to sign your papers to say you've got permission to listen in on my phones, and I'd hand that phone to somebody whose father was allegedly making meth, and so that person had that phone and was running around, and they loved it. They were they thought, oh, you've lost your phone, here, take mine. It was a lot of fun. I had even a couple different things happen to where, to the public, it made it look completely like I was on the wrong side of things, when in reality, I was meeting with not only Missouri State Highway Patrol undercover, but they put a federal agent with me as well, who was a former US Marine Corps officer. He said he had served in the Philippines in the jungles, where he said if you're an American, they could just, when he was in the US Marine Corps, he goes, they could just take a machete and take your head clean off. This is a story he told me on a drive over to Sedalia once. But after all this was said and done, just before I went to Ukraine for the first time in around April 4 of 2004, I called John Moore, the Liberty Man, Republican Broadcasting Radio Network. And, John said, Michael, you're wasting your time. You need to read the book by Dr. Joseph Douglas, Red Cocaine. He goes, at this point, United States of America, remember this is spring 2004, talking to John Moore, the Liberty Man, who's on Republican Broadcasting Radio Network. He was Charlton Heston's previous wife. What was her name? Jane Fonda. He was her personal bodyguard at one time. Charlton Heston, his personal bodyguard at one time. U.S. Army Ranger at one time. He was the U.S. military intelligence officer, 4 years stationed in Egypt. And at that point that I was talking to John Moore a few times on the phone, I'd call into his radio show live, and I think he was on Frankly Speaking Radio, Frank Whalen out of Arkansas. Anyway, I talked to John several times. I had a book or 2 or 3 from him on prime numbers, one of the scientists, mathematics geniuses that I learned so much from Frank Whalen's guests, including Kelly Faulkner, the psychic medium that worked with police detectives to solve human trafficking cases. She predicted very accurately certain points that have happened in my future, especially about the country of Georgia, for example, and so on, down to the detail. So Kelly Faulkner was also on National Psychic Detectives, like a television program or something, but she's one of the many people that I've talked to or taken courses from, actually, or seen in real life that have worked with police detectives, former judges, etc., in helping to solve missing persons cases or homicides. John Moore's work was as a CI and private investigator, criminal investigator, privately, working within the Missouri court systems, mainly in St. Louis, and helping to solve drug and murder cases. These are cases, by the way, that Bevy Jaggers wouldn't touch. She wouldn't touch either one. Oh, here comes the dog again. Shit. There he is. So, she wouldn't, there's Thompson's Towing. I went to school with Craig. It's so cool. It's a hell of a nice truck he's got there too, Thompson's Towing. So, thinking about electronic cages, right? One of these days, that's how they'll enslave Europe, down to the meter. Human beings, biochipping. That's what's on the radar, folks. The Henoch, H-E-N-O-C-H prophecies. Billy Edward Albert Meyer, Figu, F-I-G-U, Switzerland. So, anyway. But yeah, John Moore was the most real-life James Bond action figure. Well, I don't know about James Bond. You can say something like, I don't know, maybe a militarized Clint Eastwood figure. But not an actor. He's the real thing. So I used to call him and talk with him from Tbilisi, from Panama, from here in Missouri. And so see, if you can cage a dog and you get a group of social scientists, psychologists, if you can cage a dog, they're thinking you can cage a human being. And according to the Henoch prophecies and the information out of FIGU Switzerland, I've met Billy, by the way, twice. I've worked over there as volunteer, as a member back then, passive group member. And I was happy to do the volunteer work there. It was nice and down to earth. It was grounding. And hey, who gets to spend 3 to 5 days or more, up to 2 weeks, on a Swiss farm and a massive publishing house with an amazing Saline Peace Meditation Center with some incredible people that, out of all the people I've seen in the world, I remember on one of my trips there and stays there doing volunteer work, kind of like the light in these people's eyes. It was a whole different type of presence. And people from, I think it was Romania, Austria, they were world travelers, or international travelers rather, like myself. And they just had a kind of light about them. They really did. Like, it was kind of like a calm, authentic excitement to be alive, to be in this world, to have a deeper, greater understanding, a real understanding of life and perhaps even death. One girl told me, whose parents had come there quite frequently from year to year or so from Austria to Figu, Switzerland, that they were in this terrible, like rough seas, and they thought they might capsize and that would be it. But they didn't have a fear of death, and they were able to remain calm, and, you know, they made it through. And that's kind of like, you know, I just read something from Carlos Hernandez, who studies Billy Meyer's teachings, I assume, or he posts a lot from the material on, or shares it onto his Facebook out of Australia. And one of his recent posts have to do with the way of thinking and how so important it was for the best or better health, that there are just a whole list of illnesses and sicknesses that come with the wrong way of thinking, toxic ways of thinking. And then I'm still trying to learn and master positive, neutralized thinking, you know,